Hello and welcome yet again. We're here in a wardrobe. Well, you might not be in a wardrobe. It's not a stipulant. It's not even for all the guests anymore now that these are Skype calls. But welcome to another episode. This one was with Hayley Cooper, who was a friend of mine from uni back in the days when I was commissary and she was vice president. And so we had a bit of a catch up. So let's get straight into it, shall we? Boom.
And
Thanks.
thank you for being on the call. So you're inside a wardrobe. You put some effort in.
I am, yeah. Unlike previous people, I am in a wardrobe, yeah. Not naming any names, of course. But no, no, I like emptied out a bunch of stuff and I'm just sat in, like staring at the back of a coat.
Okay. How big is this wardrobe? Because is it traditional?
So it's built into the house. It's like it was here when we moved in, so it's like a cupboard kind of thing, but it is still a wardrobe because it's got a railing and like a shelf and everything up inside it. So I didn't have to like worry about getting in and like destroying it or like make, because I only buy like cheap, really shit furniture. So if it was anything that I bought and had to assemble, I would sit in it and the bottom would fall through. So because it's a cupboard, that's not a risk, so it's fine.
I've had quite a few people now who are just deciding to actually go for the full hog and actually sit either inside a wardrobe or something that is the equivalent of it. And I think it reassures me that people are willing to do this for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's in the name. You sort of, if you've got a wardrobe you can get into, then you sort of have to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So tell me, how's it going? What's going on?
Yeah, it's been like a while, I think, since we've spoke, like a good few years since we've properly spoken, I think. Yeah, everything's all right. Well, everything's all right, but it's also not because the world is like sort of on fire. But other than that, like in my life personally, yeah, things are good. Things are okay. But obviously self-isolating as everyone else is. We're quite lucky we can work from home, so it's not really too much of an issue for us. Obviously, it's still, an issue in that it's still scary and horrible and dangerous and that sort of thing. But at the very least, we're still able to retain some kind of like, what's the word? Like a schedule.
Well, that's good. Oh God, it's been so long. I don't know. What do you do?
We had nothing to do with what I was doing at uni at all. Unsurprisingly, so I work in finance now, which is like, who would have seen that coming? It's not very exciting. But it's good. It's not actually that bad. It's not. I don't really understand how I got here. I think it was like a series of call center jobs that didn't go anywhere, and then I just sort of sidestepped into finance by accident, which is, I understand, like the least like kind of fun or funny line of work you could possibly get into. It's like the least joke fodder at all.
Do you still do anything like? Do you still do any like stand up?
Yeah, I did. I like sort of tried to go back to it, so I didn't do any for like 5 years. So I pretty much left dropped out of uni, had a full mental breakdown for a bit, like on and off. Like went to various different therapists on and off still, and like managed to maintain like a normal sense of life again. Got myself kind of back together in the last few years. And then I thought, well, I haven't done comedy in a bit, maybe I should do it. And there was somewhere in Nottingham that does like an open mic night, not an open mic night, sorry, like a comedy night, and is actually paid, which was like wild to try and find somewhere that pays you. The way they do it is it's like it's like a 200-person venue, which I didn't realize when I signed up to do it. It's massive. It's a full comedy night. I think I only signed up for a 5-10 minute set, but the way they do it is everyone, when they leave, they ask them to contribute money to it. So they get like, pay how much you think it was worth. So you don't have to pay anything, but people tend to put in like a £1 coin or a £5 or whatever they've got on them, and then they split that out amongst the acts at the end. So it wasn't like lots of money, but it was still more money than I had before I went in. So, it was worth it. And I was absolutely flat broke as well when I went. So it was really nice. I got like 27 quid for 5 minutes.
That's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, so that was pretty good. But I hadn't done it in ages, obviously like 5 years at that point. And I'd realised that a lot of my stuff prior was quite based on, or like I was very reliant on kind of my personality as it was at that time to be able to get in the headspace to do that comedy. So a lot of it was based on a nervous energy that I then obviously worked through therapy to not have anymore, or not have as much of, not be quite as like neurotic and I don't know, just sort of just anxious all the time. So then I was like, shit, how do I like get myself psyched up to be in the headspace? So I'm like making myself anxious on purpose before I go on stage. And this other guy is like trying to calm me down, like one of the other actors, like, oh, I'll be all right. I'm like, no, shut the fuck up. You don't understand. It's part of the process.
Don't calm me down.
Yeah, he was like trying to comfort me, and I was like, shut the fuck up. So yeah, like I've not done any since, but that was a couple 6 or 7 months ago, and I thought like, yeah, I'll definitely get into it after that. That was really good, and I just haven't got around to it.
It's a lot of effort.
Yeah, well, I think I'd gone through like some job changes as well in the last 6 or 7 months as well, so I kept thinking like, oh, once I get this out of the way, go back to it. There's always something in the way, isn't there? And now there is actually a physical barrier to stop me going outside.
Well, yeah, it's like, it's just, last time I did it was it's probably been 2 years, I reckon. It's just like, I think beforehand I didn't care about the fact that people weren't particularly on board with it.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, oh, I kind of need that gratitude. I kind of
you need the you need the affect. Not what's it? The affirmation.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
it's all right.
I know what you mean.
It feels more like you were part of the team, and it was kind of like it was more about the event and kind of how the event went. And if I bombed, then oh well, never mind so much, because then afterwards, it doesn't really matter. But then
or like there's always another event coming, or there's always another opportunity, or there's always someone else who goes on after you who might do worse or better. So
yeah, exactly. So when you're doing it yourself and you just go into an open mic, and then it's just all these people there that you're like, don't really, there needs to be something for it to be worth it. So
I think especially when you're trying to go out on your own and you haven't got that support group of like a comedy society there, it is very much like, right, if I don't do well, then it really feels like it was for nothing. And because I mean, if you do badly when you're out with like a group of like comedian friends, then you just get drunk afterwards. It doesn't matter. It's fine.
Exactly.
If you just do that on your own, that's a bit like sadder than to do it on your own.
Could be quite funny though.
Like, yeah, true.
Comedians just there like, getting pissed in the corner because it just went so badly.
The gig was just shit, and you're just like, well, time to sit in this corner and drink that memory away.
That's pretty much what the open mics were like at the moment in Lincoln anyway. So especially the biggest.
I mean, yeah, you're probably right.
So whereabouts are you in Newark?
Yeah, Newark. Yeah. And I work in like the Nottingham sort of city centre area. I've got like quite a commute to work, so it's actually quite nice being able to work from home because I'm saving like 200 quid on like train and tram fare.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So have you got a juicy worst call centre story?
Oh god, I've got loads of like fucking shit people that I've spoken to because I've worked in loads of different parts of call centres. I've mainly worked for, I almost predominantly worked at Vodafone. So who are like known for like they are poorly rated for customer service usually, and I worked there for a bit, and I worked in various different departments though. So it was like I had the worst one was obviously just like the standard customer service for like normal consumer accounts. You just mainly get fucking stupid people most of the time that just don't understand a basic thing about how the world works. And there was like one guy who had called up and said, "Oh, I'm still receiving bills," and I'm like, "Yeah, because your account's still open," and he's like, "But I took the SIM card out and burnt it, so I should have cancelled my contract," which was great.
What the hell do you possibly do then? Because like the one who's convinced that is a way of ending a contract, how do you even convince him? No,
had to be. You have to be so straight about it. You just like, no, you have to call us and ask to cancel it. And they're like, "Oh, can I do that now?" And it's like, "Yeah, you're like halfway through your contract, so that's like £400." And they're like, "No," and then they just hang up. And it's like, you're going to keep getting bills, you know that, right? And then there was one of my favorite stories I still remember actually is you always get, especially with like mobile data and that sort of stuff, and companies that let you go over your data and then don't sort of tell you until the end of the month when you've already been charged. There was one guy who called up and said his reasoning for, he knew that kind of wouldn't fly, so his reasoning for let me have this for free was amazing. So he calls up and he says, "Oh, I've got this bill and I've got like 100 gig over my like limit for data, but I don't remember using it. So can you get rid of it? Can you stop charging? Because I don't remember using it." Wow. And I sort of had to sit for a second. And my favorite thing is to always throw like analogies back at them. So I would just say, well, that's like me going into a supermarket and saying like, "Oh, I bought this sandwich and I've eaten it, but I don't remember eating it. So could I have a refund, please? Here's the empty packet." And he just sort of paused and was like, because it was like 8 a.m. He's like, oh, it's too early in the morning for those kind of analogies, and then hung up the phone.
Oh God.
Which is great. Like I don't know why that one always really sticks in my head. I think that was like the quickest I've managed to like shut somebody down. So it was pleasant for me. But yeah, there's lots of all the time, like every single day, and you'd speak to them multiple times a day, and you'd call through because it's random. You get put through to random call centers, some in England, some not. Different people within each call center, and you would just call and you would just ask for like I forgot who it was. It was like, is Robert there? And it's like, no, or like, is this Robert? And you go like, no, and then they would just hang up, and then you would call again. He was trying to get through to whoever the fuck Robert was, but he knows that in call centers you can't transfer between people really, so you would just keep calling and calling and hoping you would get through to this like elusive Robert, who I really hope gave a fake name. Yeah, it's just the strangest types of people really that call you there. But I mean, mostly the weirdest thing about call centers are just the other people that work there.
That
sort of thing.
So what do you mean by that?
So like, just I'm trying to think of a good example. Like there's lots of people who like really, like a good example is people who believe absolutely everything they read in the Daily Mail and things like that, or like people that have managed to get their job, like they get into the job, and there was someone who managed to bargain her way, or like haggled her way into like a really high wage for a call center job. It was like 22 grand, and everyone else was on like 15, and no one could understand how she'd done it because she could barely work a computer. And then she left after like a week anyway because she was like, I'm too good for this. It was very strange, and you just sort of wonder how that happened. How did she manage to barter that wage when she couldn't, like, she could barely use like Microsoft Word, things like that.
Gledis, Gledis, Gledis. Gledis. Gletis. Glettis. I love Gledis. Ever since I started taking Gledis, my life has never known such joy. You should get Gledis, or you should get Glone. I'm so upset when I speak to someone who refuses to take Gledis. I go into a white-hot rage. People who reject Gledis are all that is wrong with the world. Ask your doctor about Gledis today. Get Gledis, get Glape.
Do you think being able to do stand-up and drama and stuff has helped with that? I guess because I imagine if I was ever doing a job like that, I'd just be like, yeah, I would struggle to find, but then I guess you'd be able to find a rhythm, so it's about routine.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, call centers are like, do not get me wrong, one of the worst experiences of my life. Like they are absolute hell. They like, I think I heard someone describe it once like a people mill. Like you just put people in and you just keep churning them out. Like the turnovers are so high. Yeah, it is. I think being in like having done comedy and like that sort of stuff, it has been very helpful to like, especially to make light of a lot of the situations, and also to sometimes come back at people who are being real knobheads on the phone in a way that won't get you in trouble at work.
So you work from home. So what's keeping you sane outside of what you have to do for work? Because you're always like creative in that. So obviously you did a degree, and obviously did stand up and everything and acting. So I always want to know if you're still being able to do hobbies like that, especially when everyone's just cooped inside.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be quite common to a lot of people's experiences, but like I don't go out that much anyway. Like I do go out obviously for work and things like that, but like I do like being outside, but I also just can, as soon as I go outside, I'm always like, this is a great idea, and then I can't wait to fucking come home. So it's not that bad for me. And also one of my responses as well is going to be quite common, as you can imagine at the moment, which is Animal Crossing is helping me.
Yeah.
At the moment, everyone is playing it. I don't want to like overdo that one.
No, go for it. I don't want to talk about it.
Well, I'm the worst for Animal Crossing as well, because it's meant to be like a relaxing life sim game where you just have an island and you just chill and you make friends and you build stuff. But I am the absolute worst, because it's not the sort of game you're supposed to min-max, but I absolutely do it, and I fucking hate myself for it, because I am like there's a challenge going around at the moment where you basically, every time you get a house, you get a little loan from Tom Nook, and you have to earn bells to pay it back, and there's no interest and there's no time limit, so you can pay it back like over the course of one real year if you want to. But there's a challenge going around at the moment, which is pay one loan per day, because every time you pay a loan, you get an upgrade to your house. It gets bigger, and then that costs more than the last loan. So now I'm up to like 1,200,000 bells or something, because I got an upstairs floor now and 3 other like rooms. But there's a challenge to try and pay off one loan every day. So the first loan is like 48 bells, then it's like 70, then it's like 100, then it just gets like exponential each time. but obviously each day it gets harder and harder to pay off each loan. So I'm like min-maxing, trying to get the biggest house I can in the shortest amount of time, by catching like the rarest bugs, doing like particular hacks people have found online that make the expensive bugs show up and things like that. Trying to collect all the fruit and planting them as close as I can to each other where they'll still grow, so I can get the most amount of fruit. All the bugs that you can get before the season runs out. So the season's changed today, so all the stuff that you had to catch in March, I've now lost the chance to catch it, so I caught it all before March was over.
Wait,
And even though I can, sorry, go on.
so wait, the seasons, that's for everyone?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, so it changes in real time.
Oh.
So because it's April, it's now changed everything. All the trees are like cherry blossoms now, which is quite nice, and it's all like spring and that sort of stuff. So some bugs and fish that would only appear in like the kind of end of winter are now disappearing. You can't catch them anymore. So that's it for 11 months, unless you time travel by changing the in what was it, in the console clock.
Yeah.
But that's usually frowned upon, because it's even in the min-max community, that's too far. So I've been going out of my way to stress myself out with it for some reason. But it's been like a very good time suck, like very takes up a huge chunk of your day if you're, once you're done working or on the weekend and that sort of thing. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of that. There's still some stuff that I do that's kind of like, I guess, more on the creative side, but I've sort of switched from doing, because I did drama at uni, but then I dropped out after the first year, because all I really wanted to do was actually work in like lighting and like tech and stuff. I didn't actually really want to be an actor, surprisingly. And so I think I kind of realized that within the first few days of my first year. I was like, oh well, this is good, because this course is designed for people that want to do this sort of thing, but they tailor the whole course around whatever the whole year wants to do, like whatever the group wants to do. And everyone in my year just wanted to act, so I kind of didn't really get, that was part of why I dropped out. But yeah, even though like I did all that kind of stuff then, it's sort of translated now into just doing actual art, a lot of digital art mainly. I did used to do like traditional art and stuff like that, but I've just really got an iPad Pro, and now I've gotten really obsessed with using the app on there to draw with.
Okay, what kind of stuff then?
I got really into like negative space, like black and white stuff. So like white on black line art. And I'll have to send you some of the stuff over, but I got into doing like Inktober about 2 years ago. And then I kind of realized I really liked working with white on black, and not really, if I could help it, not using any other colors at all. Occasionally putting like red if I thought it was striking enough to need it. But I got this weird thing that I started doing. I don't really know where I got the idea for it from, but I did like a series that was like phobias drawn as monsters, which I know is probably not, I'm sure other people have probably done the same thing. But I tried to not pick really obvious phobias into weird creatures. I think one of them was just like fear of eyes. So it's this massive like hulking like giant creature with these huge forearms, but every sort of square inch of it is covered in eyes of different sizes. One that's like just fear of horns. So I just did like a kind of weird tall deer giraffe looking thing that had loads of horns, just things like that. I don't know why, it sort of ate up hours and hours of my day every day coming up with new ideas, and then I just stopped doing it for no reason.
Is it your personal fears or just general fears?
No, I don't really have any sort of proper phobias, I don't think. Like either phobias that I know that other people had, or more specifically phobias that I thought were unusual and uncommon phobias. So like some of them is like fear of, like, obviously relevant now. One of them was fear of contracting diseases. So I've got this kind of really nasty looking like thing with all the skin like sort of sloughing off, and it's kind of rotting at the core and that kind of thing. And there's like one that's like fear of hands. So I've got like a creature that's got like a kind of human torso, except it's just arms. It's just arms coming out. It's almost like the torso reverses. So you've got like two top halves of a torso end to end, and coming out of it are like 9 or 10 arms on each side or something. Oh, no, sorry, about 6 or 7 arms on each side. So yeah, you can sort of see stuff through my Facebook, through my Instagram there on that link. But yeah, I just got really into doing that and working in like negative space, and I really don't know why. And I do work in colour still, but for some reason that's really been my outlet as well at the moment.
That's really cool.
Thanks. I got really into D&D as well, actually, in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So go on.
I played it for a bit, and I think I just steadily realized that the people I was playing with, they weren't taking it seriously. Well, it was about joking, and then when it got to like, okay, so we need to do this big battle, I was like, I wasn't invested enough in it. Is the problem?
Yeah.
But that's just probably my attention span. So what kind of?
I mean,
I mean, I don't
I
know.
have that problem too. So I understand what you're saying. I think it can massively depend on the players and the storyteller as well as to how invested you can get in the story, really.
Yeah. So what's the best character you've ever had? The character concept you've ever seen?
Well, I've only played like a couple of games. So I've been playing one game consistently, actually, with James and Steph.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, me and Reese have been playing with them and a couple of the people. So we've been playing that for about 2 years now straight. And I've had one character. I think we're coming up to the finale, like actual final session next session.
So the whole campaign's been 2 years long.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I mean, there was obviously, as you know, because I think you also worked there, but they worked at Rockstar, and there was a good period of time where they weren't able to play.
Yeah.
In line with Red Dead, so obviously we didn't see them for a bit, but still it was over 2 and probably 2.5 years now, I would say. But yeah, that was really good. So I've got a character that's like a half orc bard called Meep. I think a lot of people's first character that they make for D&D is definitely like a self-insert kind of own character, do not steal. It's very like just them in the game to some degree, or it's what you kind of for me it's all the sort of stuff I want to be. Like, she's funnier than I am, but she's also like not particularly deep in any way. Like, she's not really experienced any hardship. Like, everybody else on the party has had really tragic backstories, and the worst thing that's ever happened to her is she got mugged once, and she just cannot relate to other people that way. Like, she just tries to keep always just tries to make a joke out of everything, because she doesn't really know what to do when someone's like, my whole village was burnt to the ground. She's like, well, cool. Just plays a little like song. But I mean, our campaign is like it's got some serious points to it, but again, because I've got that character in it, there was a whole session dedicated to making as many characters as we could, like as many NPCs shit themselves. So that became like a whole like arc of like Poopgate, where we would we went to this party to do a heist to steal an item, and we basically spiked all the food with laxatives and clogged every single toilet, so people were shitting themselves in this fancy mansion all over the floor. And James gave me an item that was the red tuber of the brown note, so if you blow it, then everyone in the nearby area has to make a constitution saving throw or they shit themselves, including you. So like, stuff like that. So there's a lot of like shit jokes, and there's like she shit in somebody's mouth and then he choked on it and died. Like, it's not a really highbrow, high caliber serious. I mean, James is like doing a very good job of writing a serious story, and like my character is just walking in and shitting in people's mouths.
Yeah.
Which is, about as good as it gets, really. But yeah, I do really like me. We did do a one shot where we all got to pick random characters, and they could be existing IPs. So I picked Mr. Blobby, and I tried to get him killed as many times as I could, but he just wouldn't fucking die. Which was great. It's a good game. That's the thing. I think you can write a character that's got like a lot of depth and a lot of backstory, is very serious, but you can also write a jovial character that's not very complicated and have just as much fun, I think. After we started playing with them, after about 1.5 years or 2 years in, we started DMing for some other groups of friends that wanted to start playing. So we thought we'd teach them how to play based on what we knew, even though I think the second we started doing that, we were like, oh, we don't know as much as we thought we did. Like, this is hard to teach someone else to play. But they're really good at it now. And he started DMing, and I've got a Dragonborn barbarian character in that group called Salazar, and he's like a red dragon, and Dragonborn, sorry, and he's like dedicated to this religion, this like god called Lovatar, who's like a goddess of pain. So his whole thing is that he's basically in a cult, but he doesn't realize it, and he's out trying to recruit other people. So every time he sees like a down and out like angry looking teen, he's like, oh, they'll be perfect, like, here, take my card, go back to the tribe, tell them I sent you, that kind of thing. And he's quite a good character to play, because I've tried to give him a Russian accent, only then realizing I can't do a Russian accent. So the whole game is me just being like, my name is Lovatar. It's just like the shittest fucking voice you've ever heard.
Oh dear. With your drawing stuff, is there anything you want to plug for that?
I've got a Redbubble, but like people, I've not updated it forever. Like, if there's people want stickers, go to my Redbubble. It's linked on my Instagram, which is amalgamation, but there's a dot after the word amalgam, after the M in amalgamation is a dot. That's my Instagram. But yeah, amalgamation illustration. But yeah, I do commissions as well, but me and like every other fucker on the internet, so yeah. I'm not, I really like doing commissions actually, but I did used to do logo commissions for a bit, but there's so many people that are insane on the internet who want like bizarre things from you that don't make sense, that I've sort of given up with logo design. that yeah, I don't really. I still do it if someone asks for one, but I won't actively seek it out.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, there was like someone who asked me to like redesign the same thing like 94 times before she was happy with it. Honestly, it was just such a pain in the like, and it wasn't like like a reasonable request each time. It was like I would do stuff that she'd asked and it would be really ridiculous. But she would just send me other logos to copy basically. And I'm like, I can't do that. That's like trademarked. That's copyright. I can't just copy their logo and
Yeah.
splice it into somebody else like another logo. And she's like, why not? And I'm like, because you will get in trouble. Like, no. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to say? Because I'm trying to keep it a tight 30.
I've got that's very
I
vague.
always say this. Everyone's just like, oh, what? I don't know what to say.
Drink lots of water during these trying times so that
Yeah.
you don't get a headache. And
Especially if you're stuck in a wardrobe. Please
yeah,
take a drink of
yeah.
water.
And try not to pick your cat up too much, even though you want to, because they are absolutely fucking sick of seeing you every day. That's my other advice. That's the advice I've had to give myself.
How's it been being in a wardrobe for half an hour?
Fine, but it's getting a bit hot in here actually. It's not been what it was quite cold when I got in here, but I guess me being in here has made it warm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not that bad because I put a pillow down, so now I'm sort of just hanging out, really. Just having it. Got my legs up, so I'm sort of just lounging.
It's gonna be a regular occurrence.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna get in here and I'm gonna get in here and reminisce about the time that I spoke for 20 minutes about D&D and art.
Exactly. What a fantastic thing to reminisce. Well, thank you so much for being on. It's been fantastic. And
I'm a lifelong fan. This is a dream come true.
well, you must be one of two.
I've literally been asking you, like, I think from like quite an early point, like, hey, can I be on this at some point?
Yeah, I realise it's taking far too long, but I really appreciate it.
It's cool. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's yeah, I can tick that off a bucket list now.
Nice.